The new Attack on Titan ending didn't ruin the series for you. I guess a little bit of a spoiler, I am not too happy with this. Well, let's actually talk about this. Keep in mind, I am not even scripting this. This is a quick video reaction, whatever. I was actually supposed to be busy working on this week's Friday video coming up. So anyway, colossal smash that like, just like Isayama smashed this series, maybe. Seriously, like this. They are probably gonna take this down, but I mean, who cares at this point? So I guess a few things I should mention. Right on the day that the Attack on Titan final chapter got released, the Attack on Titan editor went on this live stream on YouTube, and he did confirm there were new panels, new pages coming out. Since then, I saw some rumors, some fake leaks, supposedly saying that Isayama went online that he didn't like the fans' reactions, and that he was adding more pages or perhaps even changing the ending so he could make those people happy. In the latest interview that just came out, like last week, 2 weeks ago, none of this stuff about Isayama feeling bad about the ending, worried about fan reaction, was actually in the interview. So just clearing that off right away. In that interview, Isayama actually did mention the 8 pages coming out. One interesting nugget is Isayama mentioning that he actually thought he could please everyone with the ending. One of my frustrations about this, about the leaks, goes back to Isayama's editor. In case you don't follow him on Twitter, the guy has been spamming that they've been cracking down super hard on piracy. They've been going on about this for the past few, I want to say months, but now today, 3 weeks before the volume comes out, the pages are out. So good job, bro. And keep in mind, beforehand, I wasn't surprised about the monthly manga leaks getting out early. Since I've been in Japan, personally, I've seen some of these magazines out, 4 or 5 days early? Some of my Japanese buddies have been telling me they've seen it out up to a week early. Let me also add some additional context. This in regards to my last 2 Attack on Titan videos, especially the last one, which I felt some people took the wrong way. The main points for those videos got finished at the end of April. That's when it got done. After the final Attack on Titan chapter was over, I spent like 3 days at this internet cafe going over every possible issue or plot hole that you sent in. My dumbass thought I was going to be able to fit all of that into one video. The actual content from the notes I had would be maybe an hour's worth of video content. Anyway, all of that was supposed to go into various different videos. The first one dove into my major issue with the series. The point being, it was too vague, it was too open to interpretation, which some of you said it was too negative. The second one that just came out actually covered your issues that were actually touched on in story. That video was supposed to come out much sooner, but got pushed back. The third video, or issues after that, would have covered problems I had with Ymir, Mikasa, and by extension indirectly, Eren. Mostly related to the Rumbling arc. I do mention that now since it's probably not happening now. Cut out from the previous video due to time is something I think we could all agree on. Either the Attack on Titan final chapter or the Rumbling arc needed to be longer, needed to be over-explained, explained more. Keep this in mind, this is going to be important for our discussion with the new pages. First off is this actual Mikasa holding Eren's head and the Ymir scene. One of the first things I instantly noticed is that this is actually older Ymir, not the kid Ymir. This is her when she died. So as a positive, I'm actually liking Mikasa actually talking here, expressing some thoughts. Hell, you know how much I voiced the finale needed much more of this from her. I do think this helps to clarify the love part a bit. Instead of simply Ymir simping, being in love with that awful king, a large part of it, or an important part, seems to have included her actual kids, her people. The actual Mikasa Ymir video is probably not happening now anymore, but I do need to hammer down that I do think this whole love situation was something that Isayama desperately needed to dive into. You just can't leave something that horrible so vague. If anything, it almost feels irresponsible to do so. In those 3 days that I did lock myself in the internet cafe, I did feel I was doing mental gymnastics trying to find a way that this fit into the story. Which, to be fair, I do think something was lost in translation, but that doesn't cover everything. Just like Isayama actually spent a good amount of time with Gabby, showing her perspective, something similar should have been done for Ymir. Right here, you do see this panel of what would have happened. It looks like Ymir's imagination, what she's picturing if she had not saved the king. Almost if saying if she only had done something similar to what Mikasa did to Eren. Unfortunately, it did not happen. Getting into one of the new pages, so you see what looks like a future Mikasa with her kid and a husband. So apparently Mikasa got together with Jean, the stallion. And I'm already seeing people pissed the hell off about this. I will say it feels like a middle finger to Eren and Mikasa fans. I've already done a whole video on the whole love situation with Attack on Titan. Personally, it feels like there's a lot of Attack on Titan fans that are only watching Attack on Titan. For me, there's a ton of other anime that already fill that role for me, if I do want to see some romance. On the flip side, god damn, I do almost feel worse for Eren. I do hope he actually spent some time in that Titan Realm world, memory, whatever. Hopefully he hit that, at least mentally. For Eren and Mikasa shippers, I really don't blame you if you're not happy seeing this development. At the very least, as a positive, at least you could see Mikasa moving on. She wasn't just stuck there visiting the rock every single day. But something does tell me Mikasa did scream out Eren at least one time that they got feisty. In the far shot, you can see the nation developing. Looks like Eldia was able to expand greatly. Interesting to see that this tree thing where Eren was buried is so open to the public. I could imagine a good chunk of the world not being too happy that this monument exists. Next up looks like one final flower for Mikasa. You can see the bandage there, probably when Mikasa is like super extremely old. I do wonder if the Ackerman lived longer. And then right next to it, you can actually see Mikasa passing away. She still has a scarf, oh my god. So does this kind of go against Mikasa moving away from Eren? Anyway, getting to the very controversial scene, you see the island being decimated. So right now this seems to be the biggest shock, the biggest takeaway, the biggest dislike, the biggest middle finger to the fans, that Isayama just doesn't care about this series. In case anyone wasn't a fan with the Attack on Titan ending beforehand, I know this is gonna get you pissed off even more. Especially anyone that said Eren did not accomplish anything. Alright, so looking at the final page, it looks like, hey, it's that tree that Ymir found. What was it, like 2,000 years ago? Maybe 2,100? So hey, Mikasa never had the guts to fricking destroy Eren's head. One obvious takeaway from this is that the Titan powers are still around, which technically we didn't get a confirmation that they were eradicated. Look at the size of the tree. How many years does it take for the tree to get that huge? This magical Titan weed tree. Is it 100 years, 200 years, more than that? Are there any good Titan experts out there? I would say at least 100 to 200 years have passed since then. So what did Eren accomplish? At the very least, peace in a lifetime for his fans. This does prove that Armin and his friends were successful. Perhaps not 100, 200 years after that, which goes back to the Yelena quote about a nation's future not being guaranteed. At the same time, it does kind of verify anyone that wanted the whole world to be destroyed. So anyone that thought the original ending was a happy ending or wasn't dark enough, here you go, you got a grim, darker ending. Part of what I like about this is that at least it is now very, or at least different enough from the Code Geass ending. I cut this out from the previous video, I thought I was going to talk about it later. For me, the ending was much too similar. So if for nothing else, I kind of like that this happened. Partly. The issue that I have with this actual ending is what exactly happened? It goes back to my issue with the Rumbling arc. Did Eldia develop those ice burst nukes? Did they become Morley, which had already taken a page out of the old Eldia? Come on, Isayama, give us some context. I do see there being a cultural difference, with Japan being more open to these type of stories, compared to the rest of the world that wanted concrete answers. Of course, it's not being the only issue. With what we got here, I do feel like it was not needed. For me, part of it feels like Isayama wanted to have his Titan cake and eat it too. This ending technically confirms Mikasa and Armin succeeded in bringing peace, temporary peace to the island. So a win. At the same time, for anyone that disliked the ending, you did get a loss with Eldia being wiped out. At the same time, pretty heavily implying the Titan powers are still there. Which again, I do wonder what the state of the world is. Are you going to find the Titan critter inside there? When I was locked up in that internet cafe, one of the things I was thinking about is what exactly confirms that the Titan powers are no more. I do think one of the takeaways Isayama does want us to have from the story is something now that he heavily implied with this ending. That just because the Titan powers were wiped out from Eren's side, that there isn't anything preventing this other kid, this other person, from acquiring this massive potential power that could be used to oppress a different group of people. At the same time, I do feel these extra pages add even more questions that we really should have gotten some sort of answer to. Say the Attack on Titan world is in the year 2050, 2100. What exactly is the state of the world? Would Titan powers not even matter at this point? How about this time we do it right and everyone's just an Ackerman from the beginning? Which, by the way, I wouldn't be surprised if Mikasa got buried next to Eren. For those of you asking whether this is really setting up some sequel for Attack on Titan, I gotta say I doubt it. For one, I really do think Isayama is ready to move on. Which is not to say that he couldn't pull something like Boruto and have someone else do some other side project or spin-off. For anyone asking whether there's going to be a change for the anime, I do see these new pages being incorporated into that. Again, I do hope the anime actually fully fleshes out some of the ideas Isayama wasn't able to. So my final thoughts on this. From the last video, I saw some people claiming that I thought this was a masterpiece, that Attack on Titan is amazing, when I've never said that. After the chapter came out, I was in the middle. There's some things I liked, some things I disliked. After spending 3 days in that net cafe, the things I disliked, I felt worse and worse about that stuff. Overall now, I feel like I'm no longer in the middle. I'm leaning towards the dislike territory. The Rumbling arc was by far the weakest point of the story post timeskip, and it didn't need to be. I don't know if Isayama was rushed, or whether he was rushing himself, fixated on that chapter 139 number, because this final stretch needed to be much longer. I do think the new panels left a bad taste in my mouth. I do feel like Attack on Titan is not in my top 10 anymore, but I'm still open to see how the anime handles this stuff. And if you're asking whether this ending ruined Attack on Titan for me, to be honest, not really. It really just added more to the piles of issues I had regarding Mikasa, Ymir, and by extension, Eren involved with him. I think I would have been more open to this finale, this darker doomsday scenario, if the actual magazine, 2 months ago had this. The Attack on Titan editor mentioned a 52-page limit. But screw that! This is literally the magazine's biggest series by far. You could afford to double the page number. That said, despite how terrible I do think the Rumbling arc was handled, I could see a decent amount of changes made to the event, so they play off better in the anime. At least to give Isayama some credit, he now guaranteed people will be talking about Attack on Titan for decades to come. So what did Eren accomplish? At least going by the new chapter, temporarily removing the Titan powers since it's heavily implied the Titan cycle will repeat. Eren did want his friends to live long lives, which technically did happen. Eldia just got destroyed 100 plus, 200 plus years into the future. Who knows, with the new kid becoming the founding Titan, maybe someone's not going to be taking advantage of him like they did for Ymir. Again, you're free to interpret. There is another huge Isayama interview next month, plus the Attack on Titan guidebook that should be I think like 200 pages. Let me know if you want to see that. For my upcoming return to Isayama's Attack on Titan hometown visit, unfortunately it's just been out of my control. Tokyo is in lockdown until the end of the month. I'm kinda considering canceling that trip now. I don't know, should I still go? But anyway, let me know your thoughts about the new pages. Did it ruin the series for you? Do you think people are overreacting? Did you previously like the ending and now hate it because of this? I imagine things are gonna get heated, but post below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, new anime videos every Friday. I got a fun juicy one coming up, and I'll see you guys later.